To respect everyone's time, we're going to go ahead and get started. So if we can get to the next slide. So as you all know, I have a clicker. We want to cover the safety review for the meeting. There are exits in the rear of the building. There's also an exit out this door at the west end of the building to the left. Restrooms are directly out this door. In the event of emergency, we ask you to use the door in the back. We've done several meetings, I'm sure through Zoom and other meetings. Our etiquette simply is we desire to give space to everyone to ask their questions and get their questions answered. So we have opportunities to ask questions at the end of each section to be able to be respectful of time. We may ask, if we get too many questions, to allow questions to happen at the end of the next section, but we will make sure that we answer all questions, whether that happens in the meeting or response directly after the meeting from the project team or JSA. So if you're online, feel free to use the raise hand option in the Zoom. If you're in the room, simply raise your hand and my colleague Catherine will come to you with the microphone and we'll make sure you get the question answered. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Maya, who will go through the agenda for this evening.
Thank you, Denzel. Good evening, everyone. It is our pleasure to be here with you today to bring you the latest update on our project, the Bladensburg Bus Garage project. We'll go quickly over the agenda. We'll go through introductions. Oh, sorry, guys. Is that better? Okay. So on our agenda today are introductions, project overview and updates, construction updates, Metro Zero-Emission Bus updates, and a look ahead. So with that, again, my name is Maya Nino. I'm the Senior Program Manager with WMATA's Infrastructure Office. With me here today is Mr. Sean Pratt. He is the PMCM Project Manager with WSP. We also have Ms. Jamila Hamid Ingrid. She is the Deputy Project Manager with the PMCM team for WSP. We also have the Contractor PM, Mr. Dan Goucher. He's with HP. And last but not least, Ms. Amy Mazrobian. She is WMATA Zero Emission Vehicle Director. And with that, we'll turn it over to Ms. Jamila Hamid Ingrid.
Thank you, Maya. So it's nice to be here in person. And also hello to everyone that's joining online. All right, so my slides there. So at the last meeting, we provided an overview of the recent construction, design, and the art and transit installation. We also talked about the comprehensive site assessment. If you happen to miss the meeting, no fret, you can go to our project website and find the recording as well as the Q&As posted on the website. Next slide, please. So here's a recap of the project. The site will include a new maintenance facility, parking for 300 buses, as well as an employee parking garage. So the project will be constructed in 3 different phases. The first phase is shown in blue, which will take place from July 2021 to August 2024. It's the phase that we are currently in, where we are rebuilding the new maintenance facility. The second phase is shown in green, and that's where we will build the employee parking garage as well as some bus parking, and that will take place from August 2024 to March 2026. The third phase, which you can see in orange, is where we will complete the remaining of the bus parking, and that will take place from March 2026 through December 2026. The battery electric bus aspects of this project will be talked about a little later on today by Amy. So next slide, please. I always like to review our best practices for cleanliness and noise control at the site. We have daily work area cleanups. We station waste receptacles throughout the site. We also tie down items to prevent debris from flying around, especially during inclement weather. We also have DOEE approved stormwater runoff controls. In addition to that, we wash muddy construction vehicle wheels to prevent mud from being trapped into the streets. And in case it does, we also have an on-site street sweeper to assist with this. In regards to noise control, we limit the oversized deliveries between 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. and we keep typical weekday crew hours from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Next slide, please. All right, so in terms of construction traffic flow, first let me point you to the map and let you know that the site is bound by 25th Place Northeast, Bladensburg Road Northeast, Douglas Street Northeast, as well as the railroad tracks. Gate 1 serves as our primary construction entrance, and it's located along 25th Place Northeast. Our secondary entrance is located along Bladensburg Road Northeast, and we do plan to use this entrance later on in the spring. In terms of construction parking for our contractors, particularly their personal vehicles, we have 2 areas designated for this, and that includes 2122 24th Place Northeast, as well as the properties near Douglas Street Northeast, in order to prevent parking congestion on the streets. Next slide, please. So here's a recap of our permitting status for various agencies. A categorical exclusion was granted with the FTA in the summer of 2020. Approval was received from DDOT at a public space committee hearing in summer 2022. A programmatic agreement with the DC Historic Preservation Office was set in place as of winter 2020. And for DOEE, they approved the site for demolition back in fall 2021, and also our stormwater management drawings for the first phase in winter of 2022. As far as DC Water, Pepco, Washington Gas, we continue to coordinate with them regarding their utilities, and also for the Department of Buildings, which is formerly the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. We did receive the foundation permit as of summer 2022, and as of March 2023, we have the building permit for the entire maintenance facility for the first phase as of, like I said, March 2023. So next slide, please. Over this past quarter, we commemorated the construction site progress and celebrated what's to come with a groundbreaking ceremony in March. And this included a ceremony led by Metro General Manager and Chief Executive Officer Randy Clark. It also featured remarks from leaders at Metro, the Federal Transit Administration, as well as the Council of the District of Columbia. And there were several community members and project team members there to help us celebrate. Also, over the last quarter, we released a quarterly newsletter, which featured updates about today's meeting. It talked about construction status. And it also mentioned the 2022 annual summary report, which is posted on our website. We also included an acknowledgement of women in construction in that newsletter. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Donzel.
Thanks, Jamila. Any questions regarding the project update at this time? And of course, there should have been questions. If they are online, feel free to enter them at any time. My colleagues Nina and Emma should have noted that. So I'm going to check to see if there are any questions. Seeing none, we're going to move over to the next speaker, Daniel. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Commissioner Montague. I didn't see. Just for the people on the Zoom, use the mic.
Hello, Poughkeepsie, are you there?
There we go.
Real quick question. I didn't hear a mention, I heard a mention of the number of buses, but I didn't hear a mention of employee parking spaces. So, and maybe I missed it.
No, you didn't miss it. And we're actually reevaluating the number of parking spaces in the garage right now. So we want to have that update for you and have it precise in the next 3 to 6 months. So hopefully by the next quarter meeting or either the winter, we'll know precisely how many spaces we'll have.
Then let me, you can always stop me.
Okay.
Let me ask this quick, because of Better Bus, there's a reconfiguration of planned reconfiguration of bus service throughout the region. And I know that there's consideration of 300 buses, X number of 40 footers, X number of articulated buses. Is the current plan for the facility able to increase beyond the 300? Or is the 300 a hard ceiling?
So you're looking for a clarity around the number of buses that could be in our plan. So as you know, former Commissioner Montague, I'm gonna let them answer, but I want to qualify because it may change. And I think that's what Jamil is speaking to with regards to, even with the employee parking. But I believe Sean had one.
Yes, so currently the number is 292. But the issue is we're evaluating the additional battery electric bus, where obviously there's pantographs and steel columns. And so we've got to reconfigure the parking to account for that. So right now, we don't know the exact number. Obviously, we're trying to keep it as close to that number as possible. So hopefully, in the next quarter, we can determine exactly the number we can accommodate.
Thank you. Thank you both. Oh, there's a question online.
Question online is, are you going to do anything to beautify the perimeter, namely the fencing?
Currently, the plan is the ornamental metal fence. That is the plan. There is landscaping at the edge, in various locations around the perimeter on the inside of the fence. So obviously trees on the sidewalk, but other than a fence and landscaping, soft landscaping on the interior, currently that's the plan.
Thank you. All right, with that, we're going to turn it over to Doug.
Yeah, perfect. Good evening, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. Next slide. So just to give a quick update on all of the progress we have been making on the site, we have been able to successfully finish all of our foundations, and steel has started. For anybody that has driven past the site, you can see that the steel has started to go up. So that's a great accomplishment, not only for the team up here, but for everybody working on the project. Just a couple of the pictures on the screen here, kind of just the final pile caps that we had placed, some of the last bit of the grade beam. Next slide. So with the completion of the foundations, we were able to then start some of the underground utilities. So two primarily, we had plumbing and we had electrical. So on the left-hand side, you can see some of the underground plumbing. This is to support the trench drains that go at each one of the openings where the buses pull into the maintenance building. And then you can see the underground duct bank. So these are a couple of the main feeds that will supply power to interior of the building. Next slide. We also started and installed all of the vehicle lift cans. We call them vehicle lift cans or vehicle lift cassettes. These are main primary function is they raise and lower the buses. The picture on the left, you can see there's basically two parts of the can sitting on a foundation. These are for the 40-foot buses. And what you can't see in the picture of the right of that is where the 60-foot buses will be. And those were differentiation. They actually have a third piece kind of in the middle since those buses are longer and a little bit heavier. And then on the right-hand side there, you can see all of the utilities tying it in for that control the hydraulics for the lifts going up and down. Next slide. Our favorite topic, we've talked a lot about this, has been a long ongoing process, is the large rainwater harvesting tank. So again, this purpose of this tank is to collect right now half of the rainwater on the site. There's a similar tank on the other half of the site. And this collects all of the rainwater runoff, drains into this tank, and then from this tank we actually pump this in through a treatment skid, and then this will become actually the water that washes the buses. So on the left-hand side, kind of go left to right, you can see that we got all the foundation, the bottom placed. We started doing the reinforcing on the walls. On the middle left there, we kind of see all the formwork and placement of the walls. The middle right is really just a good snapshot of all the walls being placed in the center columns. And then on the right-hand side there, far right, is the shoring going in to support the center beam that runs down this, that will actually then support the lid for this tank. And again, once all the underground was done, we backfilled and we brought up to the next level, which was the under slab conduit. And just kind of three pictures here. The left and the center, just trying to show some of the magnitude. There is a lot of conduit that gets run underneath this to supply power throughout the building. And then on the right-hand side there is really what it looks like, pretty much ready for slab on grade. So you have all the stone down, conduits are underneath the stone level, and getting ready for slab on grade. Some new activities, we actually started the underground electrical work in the CNG yard. So this is for the compressed natural gas yard. And you can see on the left-hand side, again, a lot of underground conduits. This is where our main feed for the building comes in. So the feed from Pepco will come across Bladensburg and it will enter our site, and then it will tie into our main electrical room. And from there, it gets distributed into the building, and it also gets distributed to the CNG yard. Next slide. So some of the upcoming activities, I'm not going to go through every single one of these. Just want to highlight a couple of the milestones for the project, and then don't worry about taking notes. Jamila will actually give another highlight and a recap towards the end of this. But I do want to point out that in June, we will start precast. So again, another big milestone to start to get the building dried in. With that, there is a potential that we will start using gate 2, which is the gate off of Bladensburg. Just like I said, we think we can come in on 25th where all of our other deliveries are, but do want to give everybody a heads up on that. Another big milestone in June is we're also starting the roof. So again, our drivers now are really trying to get the building dried in so that we can start some of the interior finishes. And then the last big item I want to highlight is the setting of the rooftop mechanical equipment all the way out in August. So again, things are starting to come together now that we're out of the ground. And then the last slide here, now that we are starting to get into the interior of the building, we're kind of, you'll see like a new map / new drawing for kind of just showing the different areas that we're working in. So you can kind of see the roads around that 25th on the top, CXX tracks on the right, 26 on the bottom, and then Bladensburg on the left. So we've broken the building into 6 areas. So kind of moving forward, I'll try to remind everybody, but we'll start kind of calling it areas. So area 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And starting, basically the way the schedule is progressing is from area 1 to area 6. So again, just wanted to start introducing this so that as we get into the inside of the building, it's a little bit easier to follow along when I list out areas. Turn it over to Donzel for.
Thanks. So again, online, if you have a question, you can feel free to type it in the chat. We will make sure it's read, or if you want to speak your question, we can pipe you in and simply raise your hand and we'll make sure that happens. In the room, I want to remind everyone, there are waters up here if you like one. The room is a little warm. Just raise your hand. I'd be happy to bring it to you. And now, any questions? I know, that's what we coming straight to you. Pass it just like the evening news.
From Grand Central Terminal. Refresh my mind about the water tank. Is that under the building?
No, it's maybe the best slide to show would be the last slide I had. So go back 1 slide. So basically see where it says steel crane 1 mobilization. That's pretty much the general area. I guess I don't have the site plan anymore, but that's about where it is. So you have 1 there, and then right below it where it says steel crane 2 mobilization, that's about the location of the other tank. So it's outside of the building path.
So the actual building sits in between the 2 tanks?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay. I know that you mentioned the CNG, just for the public's general reference, that unlike Northern, which will open as a 100% electric, zero emission electric facility, this garage will open up as a zero emission facility, but in a transitional role, transitioning from CNG and a minor amount of diesel to all electric at some point.
So the question is, how will it open? I think, right, because your understanding is it will have compressed natural gas and it will have diesel. But ultimately, I'm gonna let the project team speak to the clarity of what you're asking. I think your answer is that accurate? How will it open? What is the plan for the building once open? So Sean, I'm gonna start with you.
Do you want me to just take that in my section?
You want to pause it to that second? Can we hold it? You mind if we hold it to the zero emission section? I believe she's going to speak to it. I got your question. They're asking, let it go to the next section.
All right, just to answer the question, yes, it will have facilities for all three types of fuel.
Okay, I just wanted, I don't want to have anybody sitting here thinking that we're gonna get 100% electric from day one.
Sounds.
Okay, because then as we get to the point where someone says diesel and someone says non-electric, then there's gonna be a furor. So I'm being the wet blanket at the moment.
Understood. I believe we have a question online. They want to, I can't tell if it's raised hand, they're going to speak or.
No, so the first question is, the fence is too industrial looking and is an eyesore. I suspect this is not something that would fly in Ward 3. So is it acceptable here?
So the question is, what I heard was this type of fence wouldn't fly in other neighborhoods. Why is it acceptable here?
It's an ornamental metal fence. So now it is a security fence as well, but it has a security feature. But it's an ornamental metal fence, which is prevalent all across DC. The Shepherd Parkway facility has exactly the same type of fence. So it's not specific to Bladensburg, it's a standard type of fence.
The second question is, are you going to continue to house CNG buses at the facility?
At the onset, yes, but obviously they're going to be gradually phased out. But right now, Omada has a large fleet of CNG buses. And so, when the project opens, it will be have facilities for electric, as Amy's going to talk about in a little bit, but there will be facility for CNG fueling and limited diesel fuel.
Any other questions this time? All right, with that, we will transition to Amy and you don't have to do the whole thing, right? With the zero emission bus update. Amy.
Okay, great. Thanks, Denzel. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Mesrobian. I'm the Director of Zero Emission Vehicles for Metro. I'm excited to join the group today to share an update on our zero emission bus plans for the facility. Next slide, please. So Metro is moving forward on its zero emission bus transition, and Bladensburg Bus Garage is a key part of this. Bladensburg is being built to eventually support 100% zero emission buses. So when this project is complete, it will have the infrastructure and charging equipment for approximately 150 battery electric buses, which is about half of the bus fleet that will be at Bladensburg. As Sean was mentioning right now, the designs are for about 292 buses, although that might change, so about half of the fleet. And then, as mentioned, the remainder of the buses will be from Metro's existing bus fleet at that time. And then it will move to a 100% zero emission bus facility. So right now, Metro has a few hundred compressed natural gas or CNG buses in its fleet. And Bladensburg will be one of only a few facilities that have the fueling infrastructure to support those buses. So this facility will have multiple fuel types to support the multiple types of buses that we have in our fleet currently. So since Bladensburg is one of Metro's first facilities to house a significant number of battery electric buses, this project is really important to our overall transition and for providing clean air to the community and the region. So more broadly, Metro is accelerating its work to transition the entire bus fleet to zero emissions by 2042. Our recently released zero emission bus transition plan outlines a path for full conversion by 2042, which is 3 years ahead of our previous goal. So reflecting this plan, Metro's Board of Directors recently adopted this accelerated goal for our full fleet conversion. And this zero emission bus transition plan identifies a strategic approach to transforming our fleet, our facilities, and our workforce to support a full zero emission fleet. So we're excited about all of the zero emission bus work at this facility, and I look forward to continuing to share updates with the community.
Thank you, Amy. Questions in the house first? Yes.
How many electric buses to start out with? 3, 2?
So the plan is to, when the project is completed, that we'd have 150 battery electric buses at Bladensburg.
That'll be when the project's completed, 2026 or whatever?
Yeah, that timeline.
Okay.
Any additional questions here in the room? Back.
Yes, I'd like to know on this project, what are the steps with trying to get the community involved with the construction and the opportunities to help change some people's lives with this type of opportunity with up and coming new energy projects? I think it's a good opportunity to get the next generation of skilled construction people involved in projects like that. And I'd like to know, does someone have an answer for that?
So let me make sure so you're talking about OJT, on-job training, or hiring, all of the above?
All of the above.
Got you. You want to make sure I got it. So you want to speak to our lady?
Yeah, so currently, like I said, Hensel Phelps being the general contractor, we perform our own like concrete work and miscellaneous stuff, but we have a number of subcontractors. And I don't know exactly how their hiring processes work or how they they bring people on. But I see you shaking your head. That's not the right answer. That's
not the right answer, right? When we have money that's circulating in the community, these type of projects should be there to help people better their lives. And there should have been steps taken before this project even gets started. You're talking about a DC resident that live here, that was raised here, right? And if we're not getting opportunities to change our lives on these projects, how can we curb the violence? How can we stop doing things that they want us to stop doing when we're not getting the opportunity? And then I ask a question and you say, well, I don't know how they're doing it, and you're the general contractor. Not a good answer.
So what you're looking for as an answer is clarity around, and I'm just checking in because I want to make sure we work to get the answer for you. How many people, local hires are there, minority businesses are hired, or part of the project, if they can answer that? So is that accurate?
Yes. I work with community groups, workforce development groups, and I'm coming here to see how can we be involved in this project, right? If you're looking for partners, I'm right here to get local people hired on local projects.
All right, so that's the other part. So one, what are we doing? And if the issue is we don't know who to partner with, you are a person that we can't partner with. The project can partner with.
Yes.
Got you. So that's two parts. Don't think we have the answer this evening, but that's something that we'll work to see what the data is on that.
Yeah, no, and if you're the person to contact, I'll take your contact and we can go from there.
Thank you.
With all due respect, the general contractor should have some idea of, in general, what its workforce is. Okay, we have X number of people, we hire X number of people, we have trucks in and out, we have people come in and out, this, that, and the other. So that should be a ready, I'm just saying, it should be a ready answer at any time, because somebody, not necessarily the big mouth, me, but somebody, as gentleman back, he came back and said, even if he's late to the game, you should be able to say, well, we have so-and-so, we have a DBE, a DE goals that we're working to meet those, da, 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 da. And we shouldn't have to, I understand your role, but we shouldn't have to say, well, we'll get back to you on that. It should be able to say, well, on our website, it says, we have this, we have employed these groups as partners, okay? We have, and then they can contact those people directly, okay? Just as a matter of business, okay? And in fact, the authority itself to be in the overall responsible party should be able to bring bear and say, this is happening, and this is happening in this way. To make sure that the overall public oversight is being correct.
So it's right, well, public image and demonstration of priority.
Yes,
Okay.
and so if I go to DDOT or DOEE, they readily be able to tell me, well, we have this company working on this, and this is what their response, their contract amount, this is what they're supposed to be, have. It can't be any clearer than that.
In terms of company participation, like the goal was 18.23%, and we're currently at 21%.
Okay,
And, Dan has a list of all the local DBE companies that he's got working for him with all the amounts. I think he was more referencing employing actual individuals.
Yes,
Rather than the
that was two different questions, I guess, to clarify is,
Right.
yes, we have a DBE goal, it's 18.23%. So it sounded like more of a
that's
hiring.
perfect, but that would allow him to be able to find out who to go to talk to get the opportunities, not that this is a closed door on, well, we've hired everybody and we've done that. Because if I use the Frederick Douglass Bridge as an example, they have an ongoing community outreach that says, we have these people working on our projects, and we're doing this, and we're doing this training, and if you want to know about what we're doing, you contact this.
Right, what you were putting forward is slightly different. I'm hearing different, it may be the same. They have the DBE numbers. He was asking specifically, how are you reaching into the community to ensure that people who currently aren't hired or maybe unhireable are getting the training to be able to transition to be hired? That's what I heard you say. Am I?
That's all in the hindsight that, it takes good community partners.
Right,
It takes good community partners. When these projects is being built, right? And we talking about the landscape of DC changing, gentrification, we talking about a lot of different issues, right? The power is in you guys' hand to make sure that, when you build these new sustainable projects, that people have an opportunity to change their lives from these projects.
Right.
And that should be a key goal from the community, from Metro, from the construction contractor, from everyone, the above, the government, everyone.
right. And so that's why I wanted to get beyond the DB, which they have, articulated, but preparing for the meeting, I don't think anyone raised like, hey, we might, that's why I want to make sure we get an accurate answer. So thank you, Commissioner Montague, thank you for your question right here.
Thank you. Just to bridge each of these comments, in the early inception of the project, Hensel Phelps had a representative that was a liaison to the community. I can't recall his name right now, so that's one of my questions. Where's that gentleman? He was at the last meeting, sitting in the back. He was the community liaison. We spoke about the type of projects that you're referencing, to be able to have jobs for the community, to have hands-on OJT, many things of that nature, similar to, and I used to tell him, we wanted the platinum, didn't want any more than anyone else received, but no less. He was taken off the project. No one was put back in his place. I got tired of trying to inquire with all my inquiries as to who's taking his place. But there was someone from Hensel Phelps at the inception of this project that was a community liaison that could have directly answered these questions and set it up.
So wanting the return of that person who can actually speak, who's charged with answering those types of questions.
And what happened? And is there someone else that took his place? What else is being done at other projects and installations? Because that was my understanding that that type of individual was on other projects.
Noted. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, we'll, sorry, I didn't see you.
We just had a temporary track switch. Back to the zero emission program, which is what she was
Right.
talking about. Okay. So no mention of how many, you have 2 test vehicles now, right?
We have one battery electric bus in our fleet right now. And then 2 more that will be coming a little bit later this summer and 10 more on order.
But the goal, the initial goal is you all have a request for whatever to get 10 buses initially, right?
Yeah, that will be out of Shepherd Parkway Bus Division. For Bladensburg and other garages where we're putting in significant infrastructure, we'll do additional procurements to get the battery electric buses for those facilities.
The reason I'm asking the question is, although it doesn't immediately impact what is going on, because the preparation is for these buses to be able to be serviceable from day one when they transition to Bladensburg Garage. The general public needs to know that Metro is taking steps to advance the zero emission bus project, not solely relying on CNG, but on the electric. And so the public needs to know that while we have one bus that we're testing at Shepherd Parkway, and then we have another bus that we're going to get by the end of the summer, and then we're going to get 8 more buses, but long before 2042 or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so for public confidence, I believe, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, you need to talk on this and say, these are the steps of, not that this is what our goal is. In the interim, until we bring the garage online, we're doing these things.
So, yeah, Amy, you said it, but you didn't, as they say it with your chest, right? You gotta, because you said by the time the project opens, how many buses will be there?
So 150 battery electric buses will be at Bladensburg when this project is complete.
So he wants you to like, put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like you're saying, it's not 100% of the facility, but it's a really, really significant number of battery electric buses. It's comparable to what will be at Northern when that facility reopens around the same time period. And I think, in comparison to a lot of transit agencies throughout the country, that will be a really significant number of battery electric buses that we'll have in our fleet, in comparison to other transit agencies throughout the country. So yeah, it will be a very exciting milestone, and I hope folks are excited about really the large number of battery electric buses coming to the community.
Thank you, Amy. We have a question online, hand raised, which I believe they want to speak in. So if my colleagues can unmute them.
Yeah, hi, this is Ian Walton. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Thanks everyone for gathering tonight and having this meeting. My family and I, we live up the road at the corner of Douglas Street Northeast and Queens Chapel. We lived there about 10 years and have noticed a pretty regular pattern of employees that work down there at the facility, parking up and down the hill and on our block. So my concern in coming today was just to learn more about how, if any, parking was going to be factored into this. And so I was very pleased to see that there is a plan. And so I guess, further information about that plan would be welcome. If there's any other details you can share tonight about that. We're also very curious about the number of parking spots. Hopefully it's enough to offset the number of employees that work up this way, park up this way. Obviously, safety and those types of things are concerned, but also we've unfortunately had to deal with a lot of littering and those sorts of issues as well. So please do share more information about that and any efforts, and we'll continue to tune in as more comes out. But thank you for addressing that and taking the time tonight.
Thank you. So as we transition to the next section, Jamila, I want to turn it over to you if you want to speak to that, and then if not, we'll add it to the back end of your question period, see if anyone else wants to add to it.
Sure. So we do have areas.
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we do have areas designated for contractor parking, and that's the lots on Douglas Street Northeast, as well as 2122 24th Place Northeast, to help us prevent contractors from parking in the street and in the neighborhoods. So we'll continue to monitor that. We do have a staff member that on the site that helps monitor at the gate and such. So we'll continue to keep our eyes on that. And also the trash, that continues to be a consistent issue. And we have plans in place such as, the weekly trash pickup and whatnot, and continuously enforce clean practices on our site. So thank you for your comment. And I'll go ahead and go to the next section. So as we look ahead to the next quarter, I'll let you know the next steps for the project. In the month of June, we will continue steel erection and begin exterior precast and roofing work, as Dan mentioned earlier. And we'll also start construction work with slab on grade, slab on the metal deck, as well as fuel vault tank and piping construction work. In the month of July, we'll continue much of the work from June. The biggest difference is starting to install windows. We'll also place slabs and begin to lay out the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing lines in the building interior. In the month of August, we will finish the exterior precast and the steel erection for the maintenance building, but we'll continue with slab placements and also those MEP rough ends. Next slide, please. So here's an anticipated schedule from August 2023 through the end of the project. And I'll highlight a few milestones, such as completing the new maintenance building by the third quarter of 2024. Also commencing demolition for the second phase of the project in the fourth quarter of 2024. Also, we'll complete the new parking garage in the second quarter of 2026. And finally, we'll wrap up the entire project by the end of 2026. So with that, I'll turn it over to Maya.
Thank you, Jamila. Thank you, Jamila. For how to follow up on this project, we have multiple avenues. Any questions you have, you can always reach us. There's a form that you can sign up for to get any information about this project. We also have community newsletter that comes out to update on the project. We have a direct email address for this project, Bladensburg Bus Garage at WMATA.com. We have folks who are monitoring it, and we'll be responding on this email address as well. You can always check our website, WMATA.com/Bladensburg Bus Garage for periodic updates. And of course, you can always follow us on the various social media sites listed below. We will be announcing the next community meeting in December 2023. And with that, turn it over to Denzel for any questions.
Thank you, Maya. We have one question online.
Question is, what will be the breakdown of types of buses that will be housed at Bladensburg?
As we were talking about earlier, when Bladensburg reopens, it will have about half of the fleet as battery electric buses. And then the other half of the fleet will be kind of a mix from our existing fleet, likely a large number of compressed natural gas, buses, and then maybe a little bit of hybrid or diesel in there as well. And then the facility will transition to a 100% zero emission bus facility. Following that, as we get more zero emission electric buses into our fleet, and as we retire from our fleet, the buses that are not zero emission. And so we're building the facility already with some additional electrical infrastructure in place so that we can quickly install additional charging equipment and bring additional battery electric buses into the facility as we work through that transition.
Thank you.
The same person, but when will you be able to share specific numbers around those breakdowns?
So as Sean was mentioning, as part of the design process, we're still working through the exact number of buses that will be housed at the facility right now. It's looking about 292 for the total number of buses. And of those, 150 or a little more than half would be battery electric when the fleet, or excuse me, when the project is complete.
So I guess the question, and Amy, will we continue to keep the zero emissions and the bus number part of the updates throughout?
Of course, yep.
Great.
Sure.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Monaco? So I'm going to transition between former commissioner, Mr. Monaco.
You can just say, hey, you.
Hey, you.
To bring the maintenance facility online, okay, which will be able to service CNG, but service and fuel CNG buses, correct? So that means that at the corner of 25th Place and Bladensburg Road, you still intend to erect the CNG storage tanks and what infrastructure for that, right? All right, so that's an evil that we have to live with temporarily. When, and I know this is down the road, when we no longer have, I'm hoping at some point we will not have CNG buses at all, okay? And we will have a 100% electric facility. Yeah, I'll be dead and pushing up daisies when that happens. But I wanted to touch the thorny issue, but because that fueling facility is going to be at that corner, and that is a high traffic corner, what are you going to do to protect incursion from traffic outside and avert a potential catastrophe?
Right. So basically, how will they harden the corner or prevent?
Yes,
If
because
so.
right now there's like maybe a 3-foot wall at a diagonal.
Right.
Which I'm not sure if that was part of the plan or whatever. But that would be a concern that any vehicle that is involved in an accident could potentially come directed at full force towards that fueling station.
Right. So Dan, Sean, I don't know if we want to answer if anything will be done to harden the area with the fuel.
No, I mean, we have the retaining wall there that acts as a barrier because that is actually roughly 3.5, 4 foot above pavement. So that's part of the barrier. We have the perimeter fence and we also have regulated setbacks as well that we're adhering to. So currently that's where we're at. Like I said, the DOB reviewed everything. They did have a few comments on that area. So
Okay.
we are within their codes and zoning regulations.
Well, let's, I'm just saying personally, let's not always fall back on code compliance as the minimum bar that we expect to meet, okay? To simply say we meet the code, we should be trying to do better than just meet the minimum. And I'm just suggesting strongly that that's what we need to be doing, okay? Every time we talk about something, it's about public safety, it's about employee safety, it's about safe operations, okay? Now, can I transition to the elephant?
Yes,
Okay, I'm just gonna say this real quick. So the perimeter fence, okay, yes, I know that you all have submitted a compliant fencing for the perimeter of the facility, which you feel is satisfactory. Okay. I'm simply saying on the part of the public, if we have to live that, we want to incorporate and enhance that facility and its purpose with the art in transit. Okay, so several of us have had discussions and we would like to be able to incorporate, not alter the fence, but incorporate into the fencing framework the public facing part of the garage. So when people come up the Bladensburg Road, they should see a jewel and not an industrial complex. I think that's the best way I can put it to civil engineers. Yes, you're gonna build what is structurally sound, what is code compliant, but you have a bigger role in transit authority. You have a bigger role in this project. This should be something, as with the motor garage, the 1906 facility. You know, you had to keep that for historic preservation reasons. But this, because it is such a large presence on Bladensburg Road, it should be something that should be talked about across the country. This is what Metro did to accommodate and make our facility the premier facility. And I'm going, as much as it's irritating as that thing, I'm gonna bring it up every time we meet. Okay, that's how it's done.
thank you, Mr. Montague.
It's about, I'm the owner of Northeast Ironworks, and we're down in the cul-de-sac with her, which Metro wants to close down. And they proposed to give us the dedication of K-turn. And we're supposed to have a meeting, maybe May 11th coming up. It's been a year that this has been going on, and you haven't really been communicating with us whatsoever. You said that you've been going back and forth with the DOT, but we're never included. So we like to know what's going on, because we have to run that business for 65 years.
Right, so we've made no official step to progress with, with the Office of Surveyor. And we met with you, I think, August of last year, July, August last year, where we kind of agreed on an outline plan that we gave to DOT. And we got comments back, and there was around, it was probably like 5 or 6 rounds of comments. And the reason it took so long was because there was maybe like 6 weeks between us providing the information they requested and getting back and providing more information. So we only came to the end of that process with DDOT maybe 4 weeks ago. And before we do anything official, now we want to sit down with you and explain to you the requirements that DDOT had and how that impacts the proposed layout of the street.
But shouldn't we be included in those conversations too, leading up to this?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be totally transparent with the information and show you our correspondence between ourselves and DDOT. So, we got nothing to.
I know, but now you are, but you've been knowing about this now
So
for months.
I want to pause because I know that I want to check and see if there are any other project questions. I know you have it is directly.
Yeah, and
related,
there is Donzel, there is a meeting set up next week to go through this issue.
Okay, so so if there are any other questions regarding other aspects of the project. All right, so just as a reminder, thank you all. You can always sign up for the project updates. The website will have up-to-date information. And of course, you can email the project at bladensburgbusgarage@ormada.com. So thank you all for attending. And of course, so if there are additional questions you want to ask, but I want to respect for everyone else's time. Thank you all for coming out. Have a good evening.